So yung steps na apply natin, still, we're going to hide it through an acronym. So this time, steps na apply natin in order to solve the quadratic equation by factoring is hidden in the word fart.
Okay, good day everyone. So today we are going to discuss another lesson. So we are now on lesson number 2. So what we are going to discuss is about solving quadratic equation by factoring. So in this lesson, you are going to find out on how factoring is being used in solving a given quadratic equation. So without further ado, let us now proceed on our discussion. So let's start it by knowing what are the things that we needed in order for us to solve quadratic equation by factoring. The first thing we needed is what we call zero product property. Zero product property states that for any real numbers a and b, if AB is equal to 0, then A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 0. So zero product property only means that if you do have factors and it is equated into 0, you can equate both factors into 0 with the application of the zero product property. That's one thing that will help us in order for us to solve that equation by factoring. Second, so if the given equation is ax squared plus bx is equal to 0, where c is equal to 0, just like what we have mentioned yesterday on yesterday's lesson, na kind of equation na still we can consider as quadratic equation. So if that is the case of a given equation, so we can use factoring by using the common monomial factoring. So you have already discussed that during your grade 8, but we still going to recall it today for you to know on how common monomial factoring is being used in solving quadratic equation by factoring. Then third is yung tinatawag nating SAPAC method. So SAPAC method, this is a combination of two methods in factoring. SAPAC method stands for SAP, which stands for sum and product method, and that method, I guess, is only being one. Or use of the sum and product method when the value of a in a given quadratic equation is equal to 1. But what if your a is greater than 1? So that's the time that you are going to make use of the AC method. So AC method naman is being used again when a is greater than 1. So all in all, if we are going to use factoring as a method of solving quadratic equation, these are the three things that are needed. The first one is zero product property. The second is the common monomial factoring. And the third one is the SAPAC method, the combination of the sum and product and the AC method. And of course, in order for us to understand on how to solve quadratic equation by factoring, it would be best if we are going to apply certain steps. So yung steps na apply natin, still, we're going to hide it through an acronym. So this time, steps na apply natin in order to solve quadratic equation by factoring is hidden in the word fart. Fart. Pasintabi sa mga kumakain. So, medyo mabantot na usapan, but very effective in solving quadratic equation by factoring. Bakit nga ba fart yung step natin dyan?
Very steps na tinatawag natin dyan. Well, fart is very seldom that people are talking about it. Because sino nga ba naman yung pag-uusapan yung ito? Diba? So, hindi maganda pag-usapan yon. So, kung doon sa mga close na yung mga friends nyo, yan, medyo ano sa inyo yan, medyo sanay na. Pero doon sa mga iba, kung nakakarap tayo ng tao, so medyo awkward pag-usapan yung utot na tinasawag natin. But did you know that there are some things that you have to know about fart. So this is just a trivia about fart. Did you know that fart, another term or another term that we can call to fart is flatulence. So fart is also flatulence. So that's another term for fart. And there are also other things that you have to know about fart. Sabi dito, the average person produces 0.6 to 1.8 liters of intestinal gas. So fart is an intestinal gas. So average person daw produces 0.6 up to 1.8 liters of intestinal gas. And according to research, healthy individuals pass gas between 12 to 25 times a day. So if you think you're healthy, so that means you are passing gas 12 times to 25 times daily. So what else? What are the other things that we have to know about fart? So sabi dito, only 1% of the gases expelled in fart smells bad. 1% lang pala yung papasok doon sa gas units na yung 1% lang pala yung chance na magiging yung utot natin ay mabaho. So bakit nga ba nagiging mabaho, di ba? So yung 1% na yon, ibig sabihin, yung gas na inilalabas natin, meron siyang kasamang hydrogen sulfide. That's because of hydrogen sulfide. So nakuha siguro natin yun sa mga kinakain natin. O nakaka-produce tayo ng gas na nakakapag-produce ng hydrogen sulfide. So, and more than 99% of the gas that people pass consists of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and methane. So, look at the fart daw consists of methane. Ibig sabihin, umaapoy daw pala yun. So, kapag umutot ka tapos tinapatan mo ng may sinding apoy, so mas lalong aapoy. Sabi, ang gas ay may methane, ang fart ay may methane. That's according to it. And also, sabi daw, people pass more gas when they are asleep. So kapag tulog daw yung tao, yun yung time na nagpapas ng gas. Yung more na naglalabas siya ng gas ng fart. So kapag tulog, which is true naman, di ba, may mga na-encounter nyo na ba na tulog yung katabi ninyo pero umuutot pa rin. So kasi sabi people pass more gas when they are asleep. And also the word fart, that is comes from the Old English word fjordan. Coming from the Old English word fjordan, which means to break wind. So fart means to break wind. So mas malaki na. Pag ikaw umutot, you are breaking the wind. So sabi dito, soaking beans in water overnight can reduce the tendency to trigger. So, re-reduce yung tendency of triggering to fart when you soak beans in water overnight. So those are just trivias about a very seldom word na na pag-uusapan. But still, ito, even though it's very seldom na pag-usapan, still meron tayong a lot of things na pwedeng malaman about fart. So ngayon, ano ba yung part na steps na yan in solving quadratic equation by factoring? So let's have the first step. So F there stands for factor the left side of the equation after it has been arranged in ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Then, it's a must in solving quadratic equation. When you're going to use factoring, your quadratic equation should be arranged in the general form of the quadratic equation, which is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So after you arrange that equation in the general form of it, so the next step will follow. So A stands for after that, equate both factors to 0, applying 0 product property. Again, after that, equate both factors to 0, applying 0 product property. So I forgot to mention on the first step that we are going to factor that left side of the equation, which is that quadratic trinomial. So it can be quadratic trinomial, can also be a binomial. So we are going to factor it by using the subtract method that we have introduced earlier, and also the common monomial factoring. Then after you factor that given quadratic equation, that's the time now that you are going to apply the 0 product property. So wherein you are going to separate both factors, then equating it both into 0. Then after doing that, third step R, which stands for resulting equation must be solved. So we do have now two equations formed from the factors of that quadratic trinomial or binomial given. The one which is on the left side of the quadratic equation. So after that, we are going to solve it, and from there we can find out for the solutions to a given quadratic equation. Then after finding out solutions, if you want to check if your answer is correct, you can apply the last step. The last step stands for then check your answer using the given equation. So if you do have a given equation, for example, an equation that is written in the general form of the quadratic equation, then you have already found out the solutions to it. Then simply substitute the value to the original equation, to the given equation. Then if it satisfies the equation, then that means your answer is correct. So in order for us to solve quadratic equation by factoring, it is very easy that we are going to make use our steps, which is what we call as part. Okay, so today we are going to solve quadratic equation by using the method which is what we call as factoring. So let's give examples of a quadratic equation, then let's solve it using factoring as a method. So let's have example number 1. That is x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8. So in order for us to solve this quadratic equation by factoring, so it's a must that we have to rewrite this equation into its general form, which is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to case, that will become x squared plus 9x. Then move negative 8 to the left side of the equation. So we can do that by applying one concept, which is the addition property of equality. So once you move it to the left side of the equation from negative 8, it will become positive 8 or plus 8, which is equal to 0. So since it's already written in general form of the quadratic equation, we are now going to use factoring to solve for it. So we are going to apply the sum and product method for us to solve this quadratic equation. What do we mean by sum and product? So this last term should be the product, while this numerical coefficient at the middle term is the sum. This is the product, ito naman yung sum. So we are going to factor this first term, x squared. You know that the factors of a quadratic trinomial are two binomials. So factors of x squared will be x times x. Then let's find out factors of 8. Factors of 8 that when added, the sum is 9. So what are possible factors of 8? Can be 8 times 1, can also be 4 times 2. So since both of them are factors of 8, so we are just going to think of the right factors for it. So which of these two factors that when added, the sum is 9? So obviously, that's 8 times 1. So we're going to use 8 times 1 or 8 and 1 as the factors of 8 and added the sum is 9. And these two numbers will form the factors of this quadratic trinomial. So their sign will serve as the operation when we write it here in its factors. Positive 8, so this will become plus 8, positive 1, then that will become plus 1. Then from here, let's apply the zero product property. That is zero product property. So paano yun? So we are going to separate these two factors and equate them into 0. That will be x plus 8 equals 0, then x plus 1 equals 0. Because we know that quadratic equation has two roots. So we are going to find out these roots here by using factoring. So solve for the x here by moving a to the right and 1 to the right here to the other side of the equation. Then x sub 1 here, the first solution will be 8, that will become negative 8. Then x is equal to move 1, that will become negative 1. So therefore, the solutions are x sub 1 is negative 8, while x sub 2 is negative 1. So that's how we make use of factoring as a method in solving quadratic equation. So for you to understand it more clearly, let's try another example. So that's why example number 2. Y squared minus 5y is equal to 14, for example. So in that example, that's also the same similar example to number 1. The first thing you're going to do is to move 14 to the left side of the equation. So positive 14, it will become negative 14 when you move it to the left side by using subtraction property of equality. So we have y squared minus 5y minus 14 is equal to 0. So that it is already written in general form of the quadratic equation. So from here, we know that its factors are two binomials. The factors of y squared are y times y. Then using again sum and product method, so we are going to find factors of negative 14 that when added, the sum is negative 5. Factors of 14, that is 14 times 1, 7 times 2. So since negative yung 14, so the other number should be negative. Negative 14 and negative 7. It can also be negative 1 times 14 or also be negative 2 times 7. But we are going to choose the right factors that when added, the sum is negative 5. So, disregard na natin itong negative 1 and 14. Because obviously, when we added that, we will not come up with the answer negative 5. So, these two will be left. Since negative 5 is the answer, so we are going to choose the factors wherein when we added the sum is negative 5. So it should be the factors whose higher number is negative. And that higher number, regardless of the sign, is 7. Since it's negative, so when we added the 2, that would become negative 5. So these are the right factors. So those factors will form the factors of this quadratic trinomial, including their signs. Since it's negative, this will be minus 7, and since this is positive, that will be plus 2. Then zero product property, y minus 7 is equal to 0, and y plus 2 is equal to 0. Then move your negative 7 and then positive 2 to the right side of the equation to find out for the value or the solution to the given quadratic equation. So we'll have y is equal to 7 as y sub 1, then y is equal to negative 2 as y sub 2. Therefore, the solutions are 7 and negative 2. Would you like to try another example? So let's have this example number. Okay, for example number 3, we're going to use example x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. So as you can see, the equation is already written in the general form of the quadratic equation. So right away, we can apply factoring. That is by using sum and product method. So what we are going to do, we are going to take of factors of 10 that will be added. The sum is 7. So we know that the factors of it of the quadratic trinomial are binomials. So factors of x squared will be x times x. Then factors of 10. Let's find out factors of it. That will be 10 times 1 and 5 times 2. Since both these are positive, so we can consider both of them are positive. So since the middle term is positive, so we need to say the two factors are positive. So which of these two factors that when added the sum is 7? Of course, that would be 5 and 2. So that 5 and 2 will form the factors of the quadratic trinomial. So positive 5, that's why it's plus 5, positive 2, that's why it's plus 2. Then zero product property, x plus 5 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. Then move 5 to the right side of the equation. It will be x is equal to negative 5 as x sub 1, then x sub 2 is equal to negative. So we'll have this as its solutions. That is if your a is equal to 1. What if your a is greater than 1? So just like this example. Okay, let's just take this example. So, number 4, 2x squared minus 3x minus 9 is equal to 0. How are we going to solve for this given quadratic equation? So this time, in order for us to do that, we are going to make use of what we call sapak method. Yan tawag kong sapak method. Combination of the sum and product method and the AC method. So we're going to make use of the AC. Paano yung AC method? The A here and the C. So that's what we are like. That's what we are pertaining to. That's the AC. So how are we going to factor it? So we have to form its factors. But before we do that, let's find first the product of A and C. The A, numerical coefficient, and the C. That's 2 times negative 18. The 2 times negative 9 rather. 2 times negative 9, the answer is negative 18. So now, using sum and product method, find out factors of negative 18 that when added, the sum is negative 3. This will become the sum. So, ano ba ang mga factors ng negative 18? That is 6 times 3, 9 times 2. 18 times 1, obviously, it's just 3. Ang equal lang to 3 dyan ay 6 times 3. So, since negative 18 yun, dapat negative yung isa. But you are going to look at the middle operation, the middle numerical coefficient, that's negative 3. So, since it's negative 3, if we're going to choose this, since it's negative 3, therefore, we can say that the larger number in 6 and 3 will be negative. So, the 6 will be negative. So that negative 6 and 3 will be the right factors for negative 18. Then, for the first terms of its factors, whatever the numerical coefficient and the variable being used there is R, or is the numerical, is the first terms of the factors of its binomial factors. So that's 2 numerical and x. So we'll have here 2x and 2x. Then, negative 6 and 3, the right factors for negative 18, together with their sign. So negative 6 minus 6, positive 6, that would be positive 3, then it's plus 3. But if we're going to look at this binomial factor, this binomial factor can still be simplified because both 2 and 6 are divisible by 2. So we can simplify it by dividing it by 2, so we'll come up with x minus 3 times the quantity 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Because if we're going to make use of this factor, it will not be equal to this. So unless we simplify this, with x minus 3, then when you find the product of these two, that will now be equal to this one. Then 0 product, x minus 3 is equal to 0, then 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. So move yung 3 to the right side, and also to the other side. Then we do have here x is equal to 3 as the first solution. Then on the other side, we do have here 2x is equal to negative 3. So it's not yet true because x still has 2. So we still have to remove 2 there. That is by dividing both sides by 2. Then x will be left. That's x up is equal now to negative 3 over. That would be the answer for the sample number 4. But an example number 5 natin is 2y squared minus or plus 12y is equal to 0. So this is an example of quadratic equation where c is equal to 0. So even though c is equal to 0, still we can consider this as quadratic equation. So how are we going to solve this kind of quadratic equation? So we are here going to apply common monomial factoring. So we are going to find out the common factor for these two terms of the equation. So with regards to its numerical coefficient, both of them are divisible by 2. Then with regards to the variable being used, both of them are using the variable y. So that's why 2y is the common factor in these two terms of the quadratic equation. Then you're going to find out the other factor because 2y is already one of the factor. So you can find out the binomial factor of it by simply dividing each terms by this common factor, common monomial factor. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, then y squared divided by y is y. Kaya na lang matitira namin dyan. Then plus 12y divided by 2y, that will be equal to 6. And close parenthesis, that will be equal now to 0. So we do have now two factors. So these two factors, separate natin siya using zero product property. So that will become 2y is equal to 0, and the other one is y plus 6 is equal to 0. Then on the left side, let's for us to solve for y, divide both sides by 2, cancel it out, then you come up with y is equal to 0 divided by 2, or any number, 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. So that's why we come up with the first solution as y sub 1 is equal to 0. While on the other side, you simply move the constant term to the right side of the equation, then it will become y is y sub 2 resolution is equal to -6. So, that's how we solve using common monomial factoring. Let's try another one similar to that example. So, we have here 5x squared minus 20x is equal to 0, for example. So we are going to make use again the common monomial factoring. So it comes to 5 and 20, both of them are divisible by 5. Then both of them are using the variable x. So we do have the common monomial factor as 5x. Then let's find out the binomial factor by dividing each terms of the given equation to the common monomial factor. So we do have 5x squared divided by 5x is x, then minus 20x divided by 5 is 4. And close parentheses equal to 0. Then from there, these two factors, we are going to separate it using the zero product property. So that will be 5x is equal to 0. Then x minus 4 is equal to 0. Then divide both sides by 5 here. Actually, kahit hindi ka na mag-divide ng 5, automatic yan na kahit ano pang maging numerical confusion na to, ito, once it's equal to 0, you come up pa rin with the answer which is equal to 0. Then, on the right side, let's simply move more to the right side of the equation rather, so x is now equal to 4 as a second. So that's how we solve quadratic equation by using the method which is what we call factoring. So by using the sum and product method and the AC method, and also by using the common monomial factoring, and also the zero product method. So I hope you enjoy or you have learned something in me. So see you guys next on my next video. So goodbye.
Nagustuhan nyo yung video na to, so just hit like, share this video, and also subscribe IGOP Lord official channel. So, importante is for you to subscribe the IGOP Lord official channel, and also don't forget to comment down below if you do have anything to say. So, hanggang sa muli, goodbye!